to Behind the Whites. I'm Jim Bailey, alongside me, as always, Mr. Chris Ida, and we are going to get stuck into all things Bolton Wanderers, yes indeed. But first up, of course, a shout out to our very good friends here at Imagination Street, doing all sorts of magical things in the world of training and meetings and events and office space, you name it, they'll probably do it. This is them. So absolutely a big old thank you to them, and of course to Bolton FM as well. But let's get stuck into what really we are here to talk about, which is, of course, a little bit of the Whites. And plenty to talk about as always. Another 1-1, Chris. Another one. What's going on?
You predicted it.
I did predict it on the radio, but I mean, come on, it was even that was a little bit tongue-in-cheek. 4 1-1s in a row. Stephen Schumacher even said to you, Chris, even said to Derek after the game, that's never happened to me in my career before. I've never had 4 1-1s in a row.
Well, there's a first time for everything, so there we go.
Indeed, but thankfully it wasn't 5. But we'll get to that a little bit later on. Of course, those 2 games to cover. We have got the 1-1 with Blackpool, and we've got last night's game against Rotherham in the Virtue Trophy, which, of course, we know all about in its previous guises as the Papa John's Trophy and the auto windscreen back in the day.
What was it called when they won it?
Sherpa Van.
Yeah, that's
Sherpa
it.
Van. I also vaguely remember it being the LDV.
Yes.
And the Johnson's Paint, of course.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, we're waffling a bit. Tournament names, that's not what matters. What matters is the group stage started. Wanderers did get a 1-0 win. And as I said, we will come on to that later on. But first up, that game away to Blackpool. We've still not won at Blackpool since 1977.
They gave it a damn good goal, though.
Quite honestly, it's another game that you're looking at and thinking, we should have won that. We have had more than enough opportunity to win that, and we've just got, we've got ourselves in a good position, and then we've just conceded a rubbish goal.
That's it. And it was the first proper chance of note they ended up having. The mistake was Dale Taylor. You remember what a nuisance he was when he played for Wigan last season. Ended up scoring at the Tough Sheet Community Stadium. Had a good season, it has to be said, in fairness. But the fact that he was allowed to get in on his favoured left foot, takes the shot, hits the post, ricochets off the back of Teddy Sharmanlow's leg into the back of the net, and Blackpool, seemingly out of nothing, take the lead.
And we'd started well,
of course.
13 minutes in, but we'd started the game well and we'd looked the more likely, and that then changed the entire complexion for me, especially in that first half. It gave them so much confidence, Blackpool, and we seemed to shrink out of the game for a while. Thankfully, we did come strong again, and we did manage to get that goal back. But with the opening goal, I saw a lot of criticism towards Teddy Sharmanlow on that. And honestly, I don't think you can point too much blame at him. The defending that has allowed the shot to happen is biz, right? Straight off the bat. We just looked a shambles, and it was the only time really during the game we looked a shambles. And that's the thing, it's not like we're defending really badly. There's just those little mistakes, those little errors that are costing us. We've let him get through. The shots hit the post. The keeper can't not dive for it. He's got to dive and try it, because if it's just sneaking inside, and he's just going to sit in the post. You can't take that gamble as a goalkeeper. You've got to try and get there and cover that near post. And it's just unfortunate the angle it's ricocheted back at has hit him in the back and trickled over the line. And these things happen. I played a lot of 5-a-side back in the day, and obviously you play with boards. It was much more regular then, especially with our goalkeeper. We actually ended up calling that the Davo special. But don't worry, Davo definitely won't be watching this because he supports Bury. So,
All right, there we go then.
But I don't think you can really point too much blame on the goalkeeper. I think it's harsh to say that he's at fault for that. I think the defending was the problem. It is what it is. But as I say, thankfully we did later come back into that game.
Yeah, we might as well address this now. I didn't put it in the notes, but Dale Taylor was given another chance in the second half. I think it was either before or after the second lot of
yes, you're right.
made. And again, the defenders are standing off him. I think it was George Johnston who was at fault. He was certainly at fault for the first goal. And if he'd done a much better job defensively of not allowing him to get onto his favoured left foot, Taylor might not have been able to get the effort away. As it was, Sharman Lowe did end up making a very good save. And that was probably the very best effort that Blackpool had inside the last 15 to 20 minutes or so. But it is one of those examples that you made a mention of, that Bolton
just switched off though, that split second. And the thing is, with George Johnson in that situation, that's where I feel it's one of the stronger points of his game. When people are coming at him and he's got his back to goal, I think he's one of his better strengths usually. Where I think he does lack a little, as much as I think that technically he's a very good defender, is he's lost a little bit of pace since that injury. And I think that's what it comes down to. And so when he gets caught out and he's chasing back in, like with that first goal, he's not quick enough to get back in. And I think that he'd be better used, not that he's not being used this way, maybe it's just the way that the cookie crumbled in that specific situation. But generally, I'd say he should be the stopper that goes out to the man who's got the ball, with with the other defender looking to cover for him should it get round. However, if you're playing him alongside Owen Toll isn't that covering defender because he likes to push forward anyway. So you end up with him going forward, and that's where if they both get caught out, with Toll being a little bit further forward, ball over the top, you're relying on Johnson to have that pace to get back in, and against more strikers he's not going to have that pace, and there's not a great deal you can do about that. I think it's about how you utilise him and get the very best out of him, because he's a fantastic defender technically. I think when he does go out to a man, yes, he backed off in that situation, well, thankfully it didn't lead to anything, but generally I think he's very good with his back to goal. I think he's very good in the air. I think he's a leader naturally, and I think that generally he helps organise the defence well. Yes, there are still those little moments which we've spoken about, but as with the first goal, I think that when you say he was at fault, I think that part of it is he's been caught out, but he's just not quick enough to get back in, and you can't really have too much criticism over a player not being fast. A player is as fast as they are, and I'm not having it that he's someone that doesn't work hard in training to be as good as he possibly can be. So I think that's just the way it is.
Oh no, I was not having a go at the lack of effort, because there's certainly none of that in training. No. He is one of the hardest workers from what I can gather when it comes to training. But
it's rare he gets caught out when it's not pace related for me, recently at least.
Yeah, I think maybe it was something that was mentioned. I think it was covered on Wanderers Live Extra Time. I think you and Harlan have been having a conversation about this. Harlan in particular said that Johnston, if he's the player who ends up receiving the ball out from Sharman Lowe, he's thinking just a little bit too long to make that pass away, where if it's someone else that ends up receiving it. Let's imagine a fully fit Richard Taylor receives it and he gets the ball up like that.
Yeah.
And that means that Bolton have the opportunity to attack a defence that aren't on the ball as sharp.
For me, at League One level, Chris, your centre back, it's not the person I want receiving the ball. I don't want short. If he's waiting too long to play that ball out when he receives it from the goalkeeper, the problem for me is that he's receiving it from the goalkeeper. He's a defender. He's not supposed to be one of your creative players. He's supposed to stop the other team from scoring. Rolling it out and putting him under pressure when maybe he isn't the best at making a quick decision. Don't put your player in that position. Understand that maybe he has a slight weakness there. So don't expose it. Play it out to a faster defender, or play it out to the wings, or hit it long. Like we've got, especially if we've got Dalby on, the man's massive. Play him as a target man. And I think we'll get onto the game against Rotherham later on, but I'll come to that again. That I just think that sometimes when we've got Sam Dalby on, we don't seem to actually utilise the fact that he's massive. Like, get the ball up to him. That is surely why you have a Sam Dalby, for me, because he is fantastic. When you play the ball up to him, he's obviously he's decent at attacking the ball in the air in terms of trying to score goals, and we've seen that, not yet at Bolton, but we have seen that from him in the past. However, when you are looking at, well, do I play out to George Johnson, who we've seen play out a couple of gammy passes, or who's a centre back primarily, or shall I hit it up to the big man up top who's huge? I'll probably take my gamble on the big man up top, who's huge, because we are capable of playing direct football. And if Derby can flick that on to the wings or cushion it back for somebody to play it out to the wings, we've very quickly got it to either Thierry or to Sissoko or to our amazing winger whose name has just escaped my brain.
Cozy
Dubry, honest to God, the best player we've got right now. He's without a doubt the best player.
Oh, no. He is a very fine player. It's Simons for me.
Simons though as well. I'm going to put them two in one bracket then, actually.
All right, fair enough.
You are right. Simons has been absolutely terrific since he came in as well. But in terms of attacking players that you want to get on the ball, it's Cozy Dubry. It's Cherry Gale. It's Sissoko.
Yeah, lads, put the ball in the area a bit sooner rather than taking about 4 or 5 more touches than you need to.
There is that as well. But if you hit it up to Dalby and you can make that happen quickly by flicking it on or cushioning it down for the next pass, and we can get it out to the wings quicker, I think that gives us more chance of cracking through a defence than when we're playing out to the centre-back and then looking for the ball out to play. Because if you're then looking for the out ball, all you're doing is you're giving the opposition chance to take a step back in. All right, they played out to the centre-back. You push, we'll take a yard back in. We'll watch what these are doing. But if you've knocked that up to a Sam Dalby, like, what are you going to do? You're either going to drag him out there and foul him. He's taller than most defenders, so he's going to win a lot of headers. Then we've got the opportunity. And, if you hit it up to him a few times, he's not winning the headers, then you reassess. But I don't like putting defenders under pressure. We saw it so much under Ian Evatt, with the likes of, Ricardo Santos, who I think got a lot of criticism. And when I look back at some of the goals we conceded where Santos was at fault, a lot of the time, on reflection, I'm thinking, why have you played it to him there? He's got very little time and space to do anything. Why are goalkeepers trained these days to put the centre-backs under immediate pressure? It doesn't... I get it when you're Manchester City and you've got the best ball-playing centre-backs in the world, but we're in League One. Our centre-backs will make mistakes. Our centre-backs won't always be the best passers of the ball. Our centre-backs will give it away and will dilly-dally sometimes, because they're centre-backs. They've spent their entire careers being trained generally how to defend. Now, maybe some of the younger centre-backs have spent a lot of that, the youth coming up through the way that football's trained now, learning how to pass the ball, and that's why you do see a lot of the younger generations of defenders are generally a little bit technically better than the older generations that we remember from the halcyon days of our youth watching football. I'm making it sound really old there, but I just think that there has to be less emphasis on defenders being able to play good football and more emphasis on defenders being able to tackle well, clear the lines, and avoid the ball going in the back of the net.
Does that not give...
That's the football problem, not a Bolton Wanderers problem.
All right, yeah, that's fair enough. It might be an English football problem. I think a great bit of analysis that St. Greavesy did when they were watching an Italian game at Italia 90, where they noted, even though they were in a corner of the pitch, they ended up playing it out like there was no problem whatsoever, and Greavesy ended up saying, well, to be honest, it feels like that's the way they're taught to play over there, and that's why they look so comfortable on the ball compared with our players. Now, admittedly, one of the nice things that has happened in this century is that all football players are much more comfortable on the ball. It does feel as though that you're saying to them, well, don't get too comfortable. You've got to know your duty, know your role.
Well, in a way, I think... it's good that they can do that, and I want every player that plays for Bolton Wanderers, I want him to be the best technical footballer he can possibly be, and I think there's definitely an advantage to having your centre backs being able to do that, but it's knowing when to put. But you shouldn't just put them under pressure for the sake of, well, that's what we do. We play out to the centre backs, and when you look at them, and we're clearly being pressed very hard. Look at the Wigan games under Ian Evatt, Wigan at home, where we were just getting battered because they pressed us very aggressively. And at no point did we think, well, maybe we should stop playing it out to our centre-backs that are being pressed very aggressively. We just continued to pass it out short, lose the ball, and we got battered. I don't understand why you don't at some point think maybe we should stop doing that. Especially within that, and the second goal goes in, and we've given the ball away cheaply by playing it out, trying to play it out from the back when we're being pressed aggressively. Surely something in the brain says, maybe we should stop playing out from the back today. Maybe we need to go to a different option. Even if it's not something we're familiar with, because at least we might stop conceding silly goals. And when you say to know your role, yeah, because you might be the best passer of the ball in the world, but if your job is to stop the ball going in the net and you're not doing that, it doesn't matter how good your passing is. Now, granted, if you're the best passer in the world, you'd be playing. You wouldn't be centre back.
Understand. You
know, over exaggerating to kind of make the point, but you've got to be. I don't think it is. It seems to be up here now on the list of valuable skills for a defender is being able to pass and play football.
And somewhere in the middle, or upper middle, shall we say, is, defend very well.
Yeah, it seems to be above defensive positioning, tackling, being able to head the ball away, being able to communicate between your defensive lines. It's like, but he can play it out from the back. Well, it doesn't matter because he's not communicating with either of the centre-backs that are next to him when he's playing in a three, and so it's not going to work. It's not cohesive. He's out of position. It doesn't matter how effectively you can take the ball from the goalkeeper, turn around and play a 3-4 yard pass, because often when the centre-back gets it, the first thing they'll do is play it to the other centre-back or to the full-back or to the defensive midfielder. Well, don't make a 4 yard pass, make a 10 yard pass and just get it straight to the defensive midfielder. You've done it quicker, you've not given the other team as much time to reset, but it seems to be that English football at this moment in time is, maybe we're coming out of it because we're seeing variations and we're seeing teams that are very, we're seeing likes of Man City dominating with it now. And even they're the best of the best at doing that, and they're not dominating with it. So maybe it's starting to see its way out, but it is. English football has been dominated by very slow passing football for quite a long time now. And when it first came in, and when Ian Evatt came in and started doing it at Bolton, it's like, how pretty, it's very nice, it's different from what we used to, But it got quite boring quite quick. And over the Evatt era, I loved the success we had, I loved the promotion, I loved winning the cup, getting to the playoffs twice, it's a good achievement, and I like the fact we were up there challenging. But the back out, like the last few, like the Ian Evatt era, the final season where he only did the first half and a bit, I can't remember many games, or any games in fact, that I look back on from that era and think, that was a really enjoyable game of football to watch. There was probably a couple.
Yeah, I think.
But there were few and far between,
yeah.
And a lot of the games were turgid. Like, they were sitting just...
What do we do here?
Oh.
By the way, Jim hasn't forgot what he's saying here. He's emphasising the point that you could be watching a Bolton match.
And you're just being bored. And so far this season, I've not felt like that anywhere near as often. There's been the odd spelling games, and we've had, there's been a half here and a bit there. But generally...
This tangent went on a lot longer than I thought it would, if I'm honest with you.
But generally, I think we've played more exciting football this season, and that's because we've got the ball forward. And yes, there's still a bit of playing out to centre-backs and whatnot, but that has been less prevalent because Steven Schumacher seems to set the team up to be like, right, this team's going to aggressively press us, let's not roll it out to the centre-backs and put them under loads of pressure. It's benefited us, not only in entertainment value, but I think it's benefited us in the fact that we're not conceding as many cheap goals as we did under Ian Evatt. We're still conceding a few, and we're not maybe getting the results that our performances generally have deserved so far. I think it is going to come. With Ian Evatt, I ran out of... when it was going well, it was great, but once it had kind of fallen off a cliff, my confidence that it was going to click back in dwindled until it was gone. I'm still very confident that with Steven Schumacher, this is going to click in.
Yeah, I think it is that thing of once one victory comes, maybe the trophy game might be the best example of that. You will start to see Bolton go through the paces gradually, then it'll really start to pick up. That's the way I see it anyway.
And we've still got another couple of players that, that have just come in and are getting themselves into that team. They've only played one game so far, and well, we won it, so that's a good start. Yes, it was Rotherham in the trophy, but whatever. I thought both very solid performers, and getting onto that. 1-1 is not the scoreline that we're discussing no more. Bolton Wanderers 1, Rotherham United 0 in the Virtue Trophy. Wanderers being reduced to 10 men after the goal scorer Thierry Gale got himself sent off for what I must say was a very silly lunge.
Yeah, you had all the...
Giddy, over-enthusiastic, I think. It didn't seem like he was being...
There's no
horrible,
malice.
No malice, but...
It's not the kind of challenge you can do in 2025, is it?
I know, you can't lift your 4 feet off the floor in 2025 and go in, and even if you get all ball and no man, if you go 2 feet off the floor, in this day and age, it is a red card. It's just the rules. Do I agree with it? Maybe not so much. I think that at the end of the day, you are taking a risk if you come off the floor like that, but if you get all ball and no man, which I know he didn't, I'm not trying to claim that, but if you do get all ball and no man, then I think you've got to look at it and say, yeah, fair enough, good challenge. But even when you could still get the ball like that and it wasn't a foul, it was still a huge risk, because if you didn't get the ball and you did get the man with both feet off the floor, even 20 years ago, as I like to go back to, in the 90s, it was still going to be a red card if you caught somebody like that, or it was very close to being a red card. I've seen them people sent off for that. It was one of them, and so I don't think there was any malice, but I think it was a red card.
Yeah, you don't get any arguments from me. Incidentally, the most reaction we got online on both Facebook and X was, it was either, that's a definite red, or no way is that a red card in a million years, or words to that effect anyway.
Yeah, I was definitely in the...
I would have liked more reactions to going, oh, what a goal that was by Thierry.
Well, that's the thing, before he got sent off, he scored an absolute pearler. Oh, well, not a good goal, and that was a good goal. And you know what I've said previously about the fact that I'd like them sometimes, the players, to not cut in quite so often, sometimes go down the line and get the ball in. Look, if you're going to cut in, do that.
I think a lot of fairness has to go. I think he did state this as well in his answer, that rather than just receiving a ball and then taking a bit of time, they ended up going down that wing quite quickly, and Rotherham didn't have enough time to get back into their shape.
And once he changed direction and cut in, you were like, right, he's going to hit this. You've got to hit this. And what a finish. Like, it was the finish that the move deserved. It was a really, really good finish.
There have been points where Rotherham... It's not to say they would have taken the lead, but Jordan Hugill had a couple of decent efforts. We did think at one point he might have got a penalty, because very nice seeing Oliver Simon make his full debut. Played 78 minutes. Besides that iffy moment where I thought it could have been a penalty very easily.
Yeah, again, I've not seen it from the other angle, because from the angle that they showed on Wanderers TV, I couldn't definitively tell you.
It would have been harsh on the left.
How much ball he got, whether he got the man first, I couldn't tell you. All I can tell you about that challenge is it was a risky one, but he got away with it, so it's all good. And he started off looking that in that game. He did start off Oliver looking a little bit. A couple of misplaced balls. Just a little bit jittery in those early minutes in your debut, and I completely understand why you would feel like that. But he grew into the game, and you could see that confidence was rising within him, and he started to feel more and more comfortable. And by the time he came off, I didn't feel like he looked in any way out of place in that lineup, and I think it will do him the world of good in his development. I think it'll do him the world of good in his confidence. Clean sheet under his belt, and in difficult circumstances being reduced to 10 men as well. So absolutely fair play to him, and it's great to see these players coming through, and I think that the trophy is a fantastic place to do that. I think that was a very strong lineup we put out last night. There were a lot of changes, but it was still a strong lineup. However, I'm not sure if the next lineup will be as strong, because I think that, when you look at the new signings going in, I think they went in because the new signings. I think if they were to establish themselves as first team regulars, maybe the second and third group game they rested or they rotated or whatever. But yeah, no, I thought it was grand. I thought it was grand. I was really pleased with it.
Yeah, you made a mention of the new signings. How busy was Bolton's transfer deadline day?
Well, much busier than it's been in the previous few seasons.
For once,
where we've done nothing.
For once, Mark Howells, head writer of the Bolton News, needed to go through a few packets of biscuits rather than...
But yeah, it was really good to see Force coming in and Christie coming in on deadline day, because we did still feel we needed a little bit of extra reinforcement. We'd mentioned that right back position as well, so it was good to see.
Well, more so for the fact that it doesn't seem like we're going to see Jordi Osei-Tutu for a bit.
No.
So the fact that there is another right back who can provide that competition to Dakras Cogley, that's great as far as I'm concerned.
And he's a solid player. Good pro, experienced, international experience with Ireland. He's been around the block. He's played. Has he played Premier League?
Yeah, he has played
Premier League.
Premier League.
I thought he had, but I didn't want to just state it as a fact. I thought I'd double check. But yeah, he's played Premier League. He's played Championship. So he's got a hell of a lot of experience to bring to this squad, and I think he's going to completely is probably the wrong word to use in that situation. I think he's going to be a massive positive influence because of what he brings, because of that experience, but also because he can still do it out there. He's not too old. He's not slow, as we saw. He's got a little bit of pace to him. He's not going to be the quickest player in the league, obviously, but he's not anywhere near the slowest, and he's still got it. I think he'll do really well at this level, and I think that actually he's the kind of players we need to be looking at. Players who you can look at and think Championship players. If he'd have gone to a Championship team, would anybody bat an eyelid?
No,
I don't think they would. And so it wouldn't surprise me if Dakras Cogley now sees himself having some real competition for that first team spot, and that's what we want. We want real competition for places to make sure that whoever's in that spot, you're getting the best out of them.
It could be as influential a signing as when Kieran Lee joined when Bolton won League One. Yeah,
because what he brought in terms of not just what he did on the pitch, but his influence on the squad, aside from away from the pitch, was fantastic, and you could see it. He was like the elder statesman of the team, and I think teams need that. They need those experienced players, because when you come into pressure situations like playoff finals, when you've got those experienced heads, it's easier for the rest of the players to keep theirs, because they've got that experience. And if you've got players that have been in similar situations or in exactly the same situations before, they can just be a calming influence. And I think that an older, experienced calming influence on the pitch at Wembley that day would have been really useful.
You're telling me.
So I think it's a really good signing. I think it's a smart signing on and off the pitch. Let's see how it works out. But I think it's a really good signing. Force, I'm not going to lie, I don't know as much about, but from what everyone's telling me and the little bits I do know, he seems like a very good little option to bring in.
Do you remember the early days of Wanderers life, the ones where I wasn't involved at all? He was part of that Wimbledon team that nearly won at what was it called, the Macron?
Macron, yes, it was back in the Macron days.
He ended up scoring. I can't remember whether it was one or both the goals, and if it weren't for a late equaliser, Wimbledon would have very easily won that day. But basically, he was about 19, 20 years old at the time. He was quite raw, but the fact that Brentford had sent him out on loan to Wimbledon, and he did fairly all right on loan in that 1920 season before, well, we all know what happened next. It's been a bit iffy for him in the years that followed, but he's now finished, he's 26.
Hey.
That was genius, by the way.
Absolutely belting.
It was genius. To be honest, I'll give it to Bolton Wanderers admin. That teaser was better than the actual caption they used for announcing Bolton Feel the Force. Boo! No, your teaser was miles better, lads.
But I tell you what, we've said it a lot, but the socials team at Wanderers, when it comes to those announcements and teasers and things like that, they are fantastic. So keep up the good work, boys. Despite the boos for your headline there, for me, that he's not finished. Tweet was just absolutely superb, and you could tweet builds now for the next 6 months, and I'll still be like, yeah, but that one, just it'll come good because that's quality. But yeah, no, I think 2 really good signings, and in areas that we felt we needed reinforcement. Let's see what Force can do, and I think it will be. It's one of those. If you get with a player like that, if they hit that little bit of run, they hit that little bit of form, it can be transformative, not just for the club they're playing for, but for them personally and professionally. So I hope that he can hit a good run of form here and really enhance himself.
I think both of them ended up doing all right, as we said on Tuesday night.
Solid debut. I don't think either of them did anything wrong. Really.
No. No arguments from me. It was good as well that we had Richard Taylor and Sam Dalby start for the first time as well.
Yeah, I mean...
Dalby was a bit unlucky because he ended up getting on the score sheet, but I think he might well have been offside.
Well, again, the angle that we've seen it, that I sort of seen it, I've not seen a flat...
I think in real time it looked offside.
Yeah, it was one of those moves where I kind of thought, might be. I've not seen the definitive angle, but whatever. We still won the game, so... That's fine. But yeah, a little bit unlucky. I think there were a couple of other chances where he just looks like he's lacking a little bit of confidence in himself in front of goal. Maybe a couple of extra touches. But I think it's just one of those, it's the old adage, he needs one to go in off his backside and then he'll start rifling him in because that confidence will start to come back. The one thing I would say, and this is coming back to what we've said about getting the ball in the box, is we've put it across to him a few times, and he has put one in, albeit with the offside. But give him more opportunities to head the ball. Let's put some crosses in for his head, because if you float him in for him, again, he's massive. Like he's got a good track record.
How many times have you said Sam Dalby's massive?
Sam Dalby's massive. There you go. That'll be a hashtag. Sam Dalby, he's massive. I'm telling you, we'll make it into a t-shirt unless the boys at the club see this first and do it. I think that'll be a great seller. Just Sam Dalby, he's massive. When he scores his first goal, he's doing a celebration. You just get a picture of that, get rid of background, superimpose it on. Sam Dalby, he's massive. They will sell. I'm telling you right now. Anyway, give him more headers. Give him more headers. Give him more opportunities to score headers. Because I think that, again, given his size, he is going to be effective in terms of set pieces and things like that. So I think we need to be aiming for him more when he's in the box in terms of getting it on his bounce. Because again, it's not just that being able to attack the goal, it's the fact that you flick ons, you nod downs, it can make opportunities for other people. And again, when you've got a big lad like that and you're starting to put the ball into the box to him, every corner, every free kick, he's going to be taking up 2 defenders. They're going to have 2 men on him, which means there's going to be more space for somebody else. There's going to be somebody else who can get free. So it creates more opportunity. And again, those flick-ons, them nod-downs, the chaos that they can cause inside the box, opportunity. And I think we should exploit that a little bit more when Sam Dalby's on the pitch. And I think that we're doing him a disservice if we're not. Because it's having a big old centre forward like that and not giving him the chance to head the ball into the net and then complaining that he's not scoring goals, I think he's doing him a massive disservice.
It's one of those, like you said, first goal that comes, doesn't matter how it happens, just as long as it does happen.
Especially after having one chalked off as well, he'll be chomping at the bit now for banging a goal in.
Well, you'd like to think that would be the case for him.
Oh, absolutely, he'll be desperate for it, and when it comes, I reckon it'll be a really big moment for him. It'll be a bit of a weight off the shoulders because you come into a new club, you're a striker, you want to bag a goal. The longer that doesn't happen, the more you're going to maybe snatch your chances. Once he bangs one in, he'll settle, and I think he'll get a good few for us this season, and I think he'll get a good few assists as well and goal involvements because he's going to be in and around it, and the way he's going to be able to hold the ball up and bring other people into play. I'm still very confident that Sam Dalby's going to be a big part of our season.
The nice thing about Tuesday, in spite of the fact they were down to 10 men for the majority of the for the entirety of the second half. It was so easy for them. I don't recall Rotherham doing a lot. Well, bar one chance that Tyler Miller pulled out a brilliant one-handed save to keep out McGuckin.
Which I was really pleased for him. I think in his debut he maybe wasn't at his best.
No.
But I thought that not much to do in this game. But I think those are sometimes the most difficult games for goalkeepers because you've got to keep concentration while you're not doing a great deal. And then suddenly you've got to make a reflex save like that. But he's made a very good save. He's kept himself a clean sheet. A man down as well. I think that's going to be massive for his confidence. And I think it's very easy to jump on people after a couple of games. Give these players time to properly settle in, and I think we'll see some really good stuff from him. I think he's a good rotate. I think he's a good backup option as a goalkeeper, and I think that if he keeps kicking on, and he develops, then why not down the line be pushing for that number 1 jersey?
Seems like he will be the main go-to for cup matches.
That would appear to be the case thus far. So he's clearly.
At least we saw Nathan Broom on the subs bench as well.
Yeah, we did indeed.
That was pretty decent for him. Also nice to see not only Sonny Sharples-Ahmed on the bench, but also come on for the final 12 minutes, something like that.
Yeah, good to see him back on.
Yeah,
I had a question. I thought we hadn't seen a great deal of him, and he seemed to be making good progress. We saw some of the youth players at the end of last season. I know obviously that was before Stephen Schumacher was able to strengthen the squad, but I think that generally. I like to see those youth players coming through. I want to see Sonny Sharples-Ahmed be given opportunities. I want to see Big Dave being given opportunities. And we have seen other players given the opportunities. Inwood's been brought through. That's great for him. We've seen a few other players coming through and making good impacts and having good performances. So long may it continue, but I don't want to just see players drop off. It's like, what's happened to them? Hopefully those opportunities will still be there.
Incidentally, I was for some reason looking at a couple of the MPL games. Callum King's Arms is playing.
Callum King's Arms. Oh, that takes me back. Callum King Arms.
But he is playing in the Northern Premier League.
Play.
I've forgotten which club it is. Someone will be able to set me straight on that, but he is playing at MPL level. Good for him. He's still involved in senior men's semi-pro football. Good on the lad, and maybe he'll work his way back up into either the upper reaches of the National League, maybe the lower reaches of League Two, but at least he is still involved in the game, so there is that
absolutely, and the best pub in the Northern Premier League. Well, there you go. So it's good to see them coming through, and hopefully we will see more of it, and maybe we'll see him on the bench for a little bit of the Wombles.
Yeah, Wimbledon. Might as well discuss here and now. I think it's going to be a very tough game on Saturday because they didn't concede a lot last season.
No.
Didn't end up scoring tons of goals unless you were Matty Stevens. But they were a team under Johnny Jackson who you'd look at them and go, oh, God, we have to score the first goal or we're in for a long old afternoon. And they appear to have carried that over to their immense credit. To League One. They've won 2 out of 3 home matches so far. Beat Barnsley a couple of weeks ago.
They're no mugs, no doubt about it.
And because they are one of the freshly promoted sides, I always have that thing where I want to play as few of the promoted or relegated sides as much as possible in the opening 10 matches because they'll have the bit between their teeth regardless of where they were last season.
Yeah, because they're either riding high on confidence or they're like, right, we need to sort this out.
Yes.
So, you can get a backlash both ways. But the fixtures out, the fixtures are, and it is probably going to be, it's going to be a tough game, I think. It's not going to be one that, excuse me, it's not going to be one going into overconfident by any stretch of the imagination. I think we can go and get a result, but it is not going to be an easy game. It's not going to be a walk in the park by any stretch of the imagination, and we can't be making silly errors.
Well, of course, if Bolton were to take the initiative and score the first goal, then they might have a very good chance of having a good afternoon. They did beat Wimbledon 5-0 a little over 3 years ago.
Well, yeah, we did.
But then they were a team that were battling relegation at that point. Yeah. I'm not saying that won't end up happening to in the course of this season,
might well do. But it's one of those, isn't it? It's 2 very different sides that are going to be playing each other, and I'm looking forward to this one. And you know what, Wimbledon are a team that I've got a lot of time for. I think with the whole imposter dons scenario and losing the club and setting up their own Phoenix club and being the first to really do that in that kind of way and really have success with it. They seem like a really good community club as well, very much involved in the local area. I mean, they've got a statue of Vinnie Jones. What more do you want? I mean, absolutely fantastic stuff.
I saw that famous clip of him as Juggernaut in the last of the X-Men films from the noughties. I can't repeat it here. Have you ever seen Vinnie Jones as Juggernaut in...
Give it a watch.
It's worth it just to see him as one of the most powerful mutants in the Marvel universe.
Yeah, and of course they are sponsored by Sports Interactive as well, who make Football Manager, so
Alright, yeah,
I like a little bit of that as well. FM26 coming out soon.
Yeah.
We'll probably actually will do some content about that because I'm very excited about it.
On that particular thought, you want to get yourself ready for something that is exciting. I know we're cutting through the women a little bit, but we will get to them
Yes, we will.
in a tick. But Nicky Hunt's going into management.
He is indeed. All we need is a coaching staff for Nicky Hunt's. Fair play to him. Daisy Hill, he has taken the reins. Was he assistant?
Yeah, to be honest, he's been with Michael Clegg at a fair few clubs. They've been mates for a very long time indeed. I think Nicky was one of the best men at his wedding. So, can you imagine Nicky Hunt arranging a stag do?
I mean, it'd be some do. I can tell you, I imagine that would be some do. I tell you, Nicky Hunt, from the stories he's told on when he's been on podcasts and bits and pieces like that. I mean, lad knows how to have a good night. He seems like an absolutely top fella.
Oh, he is.
I've spoken to him a few times through Bolton FM. Of course, he's done co-coms with Derek previously, and he just comes across as a very down to earth, solid fella. Fair play to him.
Well, he's gone home effectively, hasn't he?
Yeah. The skill from Daisy Hill is now managing Daisy Hill. And you can't say further than that. We wish him absolutely all the best. I think what's going on at Daisy Hill is very, very interesting. It's exciting. And it's great that, a local club like Daisy Hill have got that kind of, thing going on. They've got the famous chairman's come in and they've been doing all sorts. They've had all the celebrity streamers down. There's been improvements across the club in terms of facilities and players and coaching staff and everything that's going on. There's so much going into it that I hope that we see them rise up as high as they possibly can. I think that it's a really good little project, and fair play to Nicky Hunt for getting involved in it. He's the most local team he could possibly have. Spot on.
Yeah, if it leads to rising attendances over there, then hey, no arguments for me. Nelson, though, first game under his tenure, they should have really got promoted from the First Division North last season. It's been a bit of an iffy start for them. Not the kind of opponents I'd want to be starting against, in all honesty. Colin, I'm trying to think, in a sense, they're a bit of AFC Wimbledon, but a bit of Wrexham last season. It's a bit of a bizarre scenario I'm throwing out there, but they ended up having a lot of money pumped into the club in the first half of 2024. By rights, based on what they ended up doing, should have got promoted, didn't end up doing so. Well done, Ellerton LR, for doing that. And they fumbled when it came to the playoffs, the promotion playoffs. Yeah. And now they have to make do with another season in the 10th tier of English football.
It'll be a difficult one, but it's one of those, when Ian never got sacked, we went to top of the league, Birmingham, who were flying, battering everybody, with our caretaker manager Julian Darby, and we went there and we beat them 2-0.
You're not mixing that up with Huddersfield, are you?
Oh, Huddersfield, sorry, yes, Huddersfield.
And in fairness, Bolton beat them and Huddersfield ended up going...
Yeah, well, that is mad, isn't it? It was like...
And you are right, they want to create an unbeaten run, and then once that happened, they just went to pot, and Michael Duff didn't last too much longer there afterwards.
No, that's very, very true. Very, very true. Well, I didn't think it would be, honestly. Mind plays tricks.
All I'm thinking of... I did go to that Birmingham game where Bolton played them at the Tough Sheets, and alright, fair enough, Birmingham took the lead, but it's amazing to think that not more teams ended up going at them because they were very good on paper, but then football's played on grass, innit?
It was around the same time though, wasn't it? The Birmingham game.
I think it was about, 5-6 weeks after the Huddersfield game.
Well, I'm just, my head's gone. My head's mush now. Might have to edit that.
But I think the point
I
is,
think we'll leave it in. Whatever.
I think the point is Birmingham. All right, fair enough. Won the title last season, got promoted back up for the first time of asking, but you went at them. They had that look of, well, hang on, I thought we'd just turn up and be right as rain.
Absolutely, and and we did, but we did get a good result against Birmingham last season. But my point was anyway that despite the fact that it looks like a really tough game, going in there with like a different attitude and that kind of new manager lift that happens at clubs.
Of course.
We went to Huddersfield, who you would imagine on paper were going to beat us that day, and we made them look very, very ordinary, and then they just completely fell to pieces. But it was what it was. That there's no reason that Daisy Hill and Nicky Hunt can't do that.
No, indeed not. Oh, nice little side note. Josh Sheehan played the full 90 minutes for Wales in their World Cup qualifier against Kazakhstan, and they ended up winning 1-0.
There you go. Well done to Josh. It's a shame that we won't have him for the game against Wimbledon, but there you go. It is what it is.
Now, if we do talk about the women, they ended up playing AFC Fylde at Victory Park on Sunday.
Yes, they did.
Lost by a goal to nil. It was a nice battling effort by the match report, but ultimately, I think you can see why Fylde have ended up beginning the season as well as they have done. I think I discussed it last week. They were very keen on getting back into the Women's National League as soon as possible.
Absolutely. Look, again, as we go on this journey, the Wanderers women's team, it is going to be one of those where we're going to come up against those teams like that have come down and have put in a real effort to get back up at the first attempt. They've come down from a higher level, and we've gone out there and we've only lost 1-0. It was clearly a tight game. And it is what it is. We were playing against 10 men for a little while, 10 women, sorry, for a little while. But it's still encouraging to know that this is a team that's just come down from the division above, that are going good guns to get straight back up there, and we're only falling short by a goal. That's I can live with that at this point in that journey. I think that this division was always going to be a little bit of a mystery. Of course. Because we don't know what the jump up is per division. You watch the we were used to watching the men's game. We know the difference between the Premier League and the Championship. We know the difference between the Championship and League One to League Two to National League. Down to a fairly decent level. We understand the levels in the women's game because it is developing so quickly. There is still, I think, at these lower levels, a little bit of a mishmash of levels, as we saw last season when we absolutely just waltzed our way through the division. Now we're finding, hang on, this is a bit harder. This is a step up. And when you're playing teams like Fylde, who've just come down from the National League, I completely get it, But again, I'm sure that Miles had lots of positives to take from that result. Yeah, I remember
seeing a little snippet of his post-match interview where he didn't seem as downhearted as he was after the first two games against Darwin and FC United. So you have to take some encouragement in spite of what the outcome was.
Yeah, absolutely, and they do. It's not like they don't have a win under the belt now. They've got a couple of wins under the belt for this season, and it's still early doors. Again, I need to become more knowledgeable about this, as we are going to be commenting on it more and more as the season goes on. But I'm not sure how competitive. I don't know what the competitive nature of this division is going to be. I don't know if there is going to be a team or two running away with the division, or whether it's going to be very, very close for 5, 6, 7 teams all buzzing around towards the top.
I know Fylde are one of the teams.
And if it's like that, then losing a couple of games, a few games early in the season might not be quite as detrimental.
Yeah, get the rubbish stuff out of the way so you can properly deal with it in the second half of the term. But I do know that Fylde, I think there's them and one other team that have a 100% record at the moment.
And that might be the way it goes, and it might be a couple of seasons in this division to find that level of player and performance to establish, and then get up to the next level. When we spoke to Miles 12 months ago, he didn't say this is a a quick fix project that's going to smash up the divisions. It's a long-term project. It's something that will take twists and turns, and there will be setbacks, because that's football. But it's going to be a really good journey to be on, and I'm sure that we are going to keep progressing.
I do agree with that. The reserves, they had a perfect August. 5 out of 5, beat Morecambe 4-1. Another hat-trick for Ella Tweedle. I wonder how soon she's going to get involved in the first team mix. And Erin Smith also managed to get on the score sheet as well. They're both away from home this weekend. The first go over to Mancunian Unity. They are a not-for-profit team. They only formed in 2019. They've ended up having success in the Greater Manchester Women's Football League. I think they ended up winning a title as well in the North West Women's Regional League. So they've ended up rising through the ranks.
In a similar fashion?
Well, yes. And it feels like it is going to be one of the tougher ones. On the road, certainly.
Yeah.
That match is being played at Chatterton on Sunday. Now, if you want to see the reserves, you might need to get up nice and bright and early, because they're at Workington.
Oh, been a little bit of a mooch.
Yes, quite a bit to go up the M6 if you want to see the Resis in action. But if you want to see them make 6 for 6, more power to you. That's all I'll say.
Well done to Reese and the girls there. They're absolutely smashing it, the reserves this season.
They are enjoying themselves, aren't they, in Division 1 North?
But I tell you, I played football with Reese, and I played. I think it was nine-a-side we were playing, and I just filled in at left back. I'm not the greatest footballer in the world by any stretch of the imagination, but I generally play as a forward. But there was nobody playing at left back, and I can do a little bit of left backing, I suppose. But I had Reese next to me as playing centre back, and with him guiding me, anyone would have been convinced that I had played regular left back in nine-a-side games for a long time, because he just every instruction was spot on. Just tweak the position, just drop back in a little bit, just push on there. Right, you go there, I'll drop it in. It was just fantastic. And so I can see how that translates into the reserves. They've got a fantastic coach there.
Well, that's very pleasing to hear. And again, I just want them to have as good a season as they can do in Division 1 North.
Absolutely. I mean, the thing is, if the first don't get promoted, then the reserves can't get promoted, can they? Because they can't be in the same division. But
although bizarrely, they could get drawn against each other in a cup.
Well, yeah, that is odd. What happens if one goes up and one comes down?
I don't think that's ever happened, has it?
Because surely you just then
the second team
make the reserves the first team and the first team the reserves because they were high. I mean,
I don't think that's ever happened where a second team has ever ended up being in a higher division.
No, maybe there's a rule against it. Maybe it's if you get relegated into the same division your B team's in or your reserves team's in, they also get relegated down.
It might end up being a case where the reserves could end up winning Division 1 North. They have the honour of winning the title, but they
stay down.
Yeah, you can't get promoted. Yeah. Sorry.
Not that I think that we'll be in danger of getting relegated.
No,
but it was just
I see what you mean.
Of like, what would happen?
I do see what you mean, though.
But I imagine that they just relegate both.
That would be somewhat bizarre.
Yeah, but I suppose at the same time, if your reserves are above your firsts, it's messed up your development path. And you just swap them over. You just put all your firsts in the seconds and all your seconds in the firsts, and then you've basically not been relegated. So I think that there'd be a rule against it. I don't think it. In my head now, I'm thinking it's not logical. There's probably a rule against that.
I know.
If you know, let us know.
Incidentally, I know we spoke about the busy transfer deadline day.
Yes.
We didn't discuss the players who we're not going to see on a temporary basis. Xavi gone back to his homeland with Giori in the Hungarian top flight. And Carlos Mendes Gomez is staying in League One. He's gone on loan to Exeter. But we are saying a permanent goodbye to Dan Mundulu, who has headed up to Scotland to join St Mirren.
Fair play to Dan. I never really had anything major against him. I thought he struggled a little bit at first, we saw flashes of how good he could be here and there.
I
He
think-
didn't deliver it consistently, but then just as he started to get into a little bit of a run of form, he picked up that injury and it just kind of kiboshed his momentum, which was a shame. But I felt he always gave effort, and I think that there's definitely a player in there. We saw it. We saw him score a couple of really good goals, and when he got his legs going on that wing, he's pretty quick. Hopefully he'll do well for Scotland. You know, I wish him all the best. He's never done me any harm, so
No.
wish him all the best. Fair play to him, and I hope it's a successful trip up north.
I'm in the same boat as regarding Carlos Mendes Gomez. Again,
it's one of those moves. Look, don't get me wrong. If he goes there and he turns it up, then I've no problem with him coming back into the team. But it's just one of those moves that has that kind of feel about it, that it is a loan move, but he's not going to be. His first team future is not going to be at Bolton Wanderers.
it was tried in the opening weeks of the season, wasn't it?
I might be wrong.
Admittedly, we're still in the opening weeks.
Well, yeah.
You know what I mean, though. It was. They did try to put him in the starting 11, and I think it didn't feel as though that it was clicking the way they wanted it to for him, and I think he knew that.
And maybe that comes into it. You know, it could go and give him a new lease of life or bring him back in and be like, I'll just do that here. But it also feels as though we'll get your low move, you can put yourself in the shop window, maybe the team you've gone to will take you, maybe...
I'm trying to remember whether or not Carlos is one of the players whose deal expires next summer.
Well, there you go, it's just go and play somewhere else, they'll pay your wages or a proportion of your wages for the time that you're there, and then find yourself a new club. It could be the club you're with now, it could be another one, but the better you do there, the more options you're going to have on the table. So, yeah, and again... Fair play to him. Another one who suffered with injuries. He missed a lot of football, and I think it's crucial to him that he gets regular first team football. If he's not going to get it here, he might as well go elsewhere for the good of his career.
Yeah, and you can say in a sense the same about Shabby.
Yeah, again, I think I can envision more chance of Shabby coming back into the team at some point. I'm not saying that that's the purpose of the loan or that that's going to happen. It might well be the same thing if we don't see him again for the Wanderers. But he's a young player. He's got international experience. I just think that he doesn't quite fit into the team maybe, and
I think that's it.
He maybe just needs to be a little bit more polished. But again, if he goes away and gets polished and suddenly, hang on, he's pulling up trees, then there's no reason you can't bring him back like we did with Aaron Morley and stick him in the team. I'm sure lots of people thought that was the end of Aaron Morley at Bolton Wanderers when he got sent out on loan to a rival team. But it wasn't. We dragged him back in the January window and we went, hang on a minute, you're pulling up trees over there, do that over here. So, and he's still in the squad now, and there's still a big part of the team now. So maybe there'd be something like that for Shabby. Maybe he just needs to go away and learn a new hole, as they say in wrestling. He just needs to go away and just sharpen up and just polish up a little bit, and maybe learn a couple of new ways of doing things, and come back and maybe we'll see. Because I think again, very clearly a talented footballer. Barney comes across as an absolutely amazing guy to be around. Looks like he's loads of fun. I bet he's a great atmosphere guy on the training pitch and in the dressing room. But again, he needs to go and play football, and if he's not going to do that here, he might as well do that elsewhere.
Yeah, no arguments from me. And again, if you're going to a football mad nation like Hungary, I know there's a fair few other sports that end up fighting with football for top dog status, but football's very much a top sport in that nation. I think they've ended up doing some great renovations to the vast majority of their stadiums. You've seen that national one that England have played in.
Yeah, no, it's a cracking ground, that. And yeah, fair play. Hungary, it's one of those, it's had a rich footballing history. They've not been the level of team that they once were for quite a long time.
They certainly seem a lot better now than they did, say, 10, 15 years ago.
Absolutely, that they are rebuilding. And there's clearly a lot of investment going into it in terms of the facilities and the game in general over in Hungary. So and again, it'd be nice to see Hungary getting back up to a bit of a world stage and showing people what they could do. As long as it doesn't, trip us up.
Yeah.
They can stay away from being like that against England. But generally, whatever, no problem. And it's good to see that football is getting that in places where maybe it hasn't been for a little while.
So, in summary then, the transfer window is shut.
Slammed shut.
Yes, well, until the 1st of January anyway, but are you happy with the business that has been done?
Overall, I'd say yes. I think that we brought in players in the positions we knew we needed to strengthen. We've not brought in 15 number 10s. We've concentrated on where we needed to concentrate on. We've cleared out some of the players that were maybe getting a little bit stale or a little bit old or weren't quite good enough or just didn't fit into the way that Stephen Schumacher wanted to do things. And I think it feels like a fresher start, and it's not quite kicked in yet. But I think when it does, I think we're going to be a very tasty team. I think we're going to see some sexy football, as Rudderley coined in the 90s. And I think that it's going to be a really good season. I think we're going to be in and around it still. And I'm looking at the squad we've got and the performances we've had. Yes, the scorelines maybe haven't reflected it, but I think we've got a really good squad. And if it starts clicking, we could well be charging right up into those teams that think that they're the ones that are, going to be vying for it all at the end of the season.
There's a few matches to get through in September. To start with, how do you think it's going to go against Wimbledon? Because I think I've said more than enough.
Yeah, I think they're I think it's going to be a tough game, but I think that we have got enough to go there and get a result. Yes, they've started well, but I think we started a little bit shaky, and I believe that's going to come to an end at some point. And I think that that'd be a great day to go and do it against a team that have just come up, a team that are riding high, a team that have got a lot of confidence. If we can go and turn them over, then that gives us, that's going to give us a lot of belief, because we'll look at it and go, well, that's a team that's in form. We've just gone and beaten them. Why can't we do that next week and the week after and the week after and the week after? So let's kickstart it against Wimbledon.
Yeah. Last thing to address. Does it still feel a bit weird to you that Bolton are playing during an international break? Because it's been a while.
It does. I did used to enjoy the international breaks. Not for the international football, because international football generally is a bit rubbish. But I enjoyed the weekend off. I enjoyed just being able to have a bit of a lazy Saturday. Obviously, you don't get that luxury with the Saturday sport. But after, especially now that I'm back at work, after doing hard days TAing, it is a hard week, TAing. It's nice to have that international break to have a bit of a chill, but it isn't the way it isn't the way it's gone. However, the bonus for that is that there is football that I'm going to enjoy, and hopefully it'll be a good result for the Whites. And I'm not going to predict a 1-1 this time, because we've broken that cycle now.
Yes, at last.
So 2-0
for me.
2-0.
Oh no, I can't say that, because that's still 2 goals in a game.
Well, I'll take that one.
All right, fair enough.
I wouldn't be surprised with a 2-0. So I'm going to pump on the same. I'm going to say I reckon it might well be 2-0 as well. Find out on Saturday, of course. Join us on Wanderers Live on Bolton FM and on Wanderers TV. Don't forget to check out Imagination Street and Bolton FM. They're getting 2 plugs in this outro. You've got 2 plugs. Well done to you. But as for you watching, thank you very much for joining us once again. Do, of course, tell all your friends, your family, your pets' friends, everybody in the world. Just tell them to watch a little bit of this podcast. And as always, do stay behind the whites. We will see you next time.